Hey guys, Steven here. So, my man Francis Ford Coppola, one of my favorite directors, has denounced Marvel movies as not being cinema. Uh, as a matter of fact, he outright denounces them altogether, claiming that cinema is supposed to provide some sort of enlightenment. There's something to be learned about within movies, and you don't really learn a lot watching the same movie over and over again. He equates them as being a theme park ride instead of actual movies. And for most of them, I agree. My buddies who've known me for a while know very well that I am very critical of superhero movies. However, he's not 100% correct. There are some films that have more to offer than just your casual superhero film. And of course, as all of you guys know, who've watched my content for a while, I'm a huge fan of redemption. I think our God is a fan of redemption. So I think that the themes that have true redemption in them are the better of the superhero films and have something to be gleaned from them. For example, a lot of people are going to point to the first Iron Man movie. I kind of look at the first Iron Man like I do the early Star Wars movies, excluding Episode 5. I'm talking about Episodes 4 and 6. They're cool because you don't really have anything else like them, and they're kind of the first in this. They're either the first or they're founders of this genre of film. But when you compare them with some of the newer stuff, or even just stuff a few years later or a few years before, it's not really the best. It's just something new and different. I kind of think of the first Iron Man in the same way. It set the tone for a lot of superhero films. It's kind of surface level. It has a so-so villain. The action is great. The CGI is great. The music is but overall, it's a good film. It's worth the watch, and it's worth the rewatch. And an unpopular opinion here, an area that I agree with Coppola. The most cinematic movie out of all of them would be Iron Man 3. It has some cheesy twists, and it's not necessarily the most structured film, but it's kind of the one you walk away from learning the most. And it's the one that really has the most inspiration behind it. Here we have a guy who's lived his entire life one direction, he turns around to live it the opposite direction, and his life becomes consumed by this new way of life. Being a superhero has consumed him entirely, and it's overridden his personal life and hurts his poor sweet pepper. He has to make a difficult decision. And in the end, spoilers if you have, I don't give two craps about spoiler alerts. He ends up blowing up all of his suits. Of course, as we see in the later movies, something around that changes or the movies are mixed up in terms of timeline. I don't really care that much. I think that Iron Man 3 is going to be the one that I watch the most later on because it has the most value to it. It shows a turnaround of not only life but also of heart. We see how much he has changed from the weapons dealer back before Iron Man became a thing. It has the most transformation and it has the most sacrifice in it. For that, I think that the third Iron Man is definitely much more cinema than any of the other Iron Man movies. Most of the movies I agree with Coppola. I don't think there's very much to glean from Thor the Dark World or The Incredible Hulk or pretty much most any of the other movies, even the first Captain America. I love Captain America. The first Avengers sucked. It was good for the first half of the movie, and then it just sucked. It became a theme park. And I kind of didn't like that. The more I think about it, the more I think the same is true with Civil War. Winter Soldier, I still hold in high regard, but for the most part, most of the movies fall in the same category. The one area where I say that Coppola is 100% wrong is when you talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is a fresh new breed. If you watch how the movies changed from before Guardians of the Galaxy to after Guardians, The success of Guardians of the Galaxy changed superhero movies entirely. Like, DC was kind of being its own thing with Man of Steel, and people hate me for it, Batman versus Superman. It was kind of its own thing. It wasn't really trying to be Marvel. It was still kind of its own piece. But once Guardians of the Galaxy hits and becomes immensely popular, we see a change in all superhero movies. All of a sudden, everybody is trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy. My number one go-to is Thor Ragnarok. A very serious character, a very serious villain, all of a sudden is a walking joke. It's because they're trying to mimic Guardians of the Galaxy. They're trying to repeat success of what is basically a completely different franchise. Guardians of the Galaxy is such a different beast from the whole rest of the stories that they're all trying to copy it, and it ruined superhero movies. Well, that doesn't make Guardians bad. As a matter of fact, I think Guardians is probably the deepest movie series, I mean there's two of them, movie series of the Marvel world, of the superhero world. We have a character who doesn't take life seriously because he's trying to avoid the hurts of the past. That's something we all relate to. We can all relate to that kind of loss. Maybe not to that extreme. We've not all lost our mothers to cancer. It'd be a very sad world if we did, but we all know of some kind of loss in our lives that has changed us. We all know of some kind of hurt in our lives that makes us see the world differently. That's how Peter Quill approaches his life. That's why he doesn't take life very seriously. It's why he doesn't take his relationships seriously. It's why he's a loner. He's trying to hide from the world. But something changes. Something starts to change when there's something greater at stake. We see a character shift in him. Of course, he's still going to have the bad boy in him, as we see kind of played out bits and pieces throughout the rest of the two films, but we see a huge character shift in him. Probably the biggest character shift, I would say, in any superhero movie. He takes his life seriously. He takes protecting people seriously. He actually faces his past, as we see in the second movie. We actually have to see him deal with not only the loss of his mother, but the gaining and then losing again of a father. He deals with a lot of hurt and a lot of emotion, and I think he does so better in the Guardians of the Galaxy films than in any other superhero film. So for the most part, yes, Coppola, I agree with you. But do not discount Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, that's all I have to say. And Atomic is here. Okay.